Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, today we are going to be talking about the newest weapon to hit the Destiny sandbox, the new and somewhat controversial exotic fusion rifle, Bastion. We'll be breaking down just how to get this weapon, its stats, and a final rant about the weapon as a whole, all right here in this video. Timestamps will be down below if you want to skip to certain sections of the video, but without further ado, let's do further. For those of you unaware, last week Osiris had a quest to explore the corridors of time. As a community, we spent countless hours mapping ways throughout the corridors to discover lore and secrets within. Almost 6 whole days later, we mapped our way to the final room with the help of this handy dandy map, as shown on screen here. If you don't understand what you're looking at, that's okay, neither do I. But that led us to the final code, as you can see on screen here now. And in that final room, we got a quest that we knew was coming. More on that later. But we did also get a neat little funeral service for our guardian directed by Saint 14, which I will let play for you now.
Thank you for coming. We've gathered here today to celebrate the life of my mentor, my inspiration. Hero of the Red War. The man who avenged Gate 6. He had 100 times, I cannot recall. And he died doing what he does best, defending the last city of humanity. Ages ago, he saved my life, and then inspired me to save myself. I am glad that he did, because travel will help us. He is gone. There is no one to save us now. On the day we met, I decided I would follow his example. I've marked this grave with one of his favorite weapons, shattered in that final confrontation. It used to be mine. All who find what we've left here, please leave it be. Unless you're still out there somewhere. You've performed miracles before. In which case, take it, and come back to us. We'll kill what killed you, or die trying.
The quest, which is available to all Season Pass holders after reset today, will have you talk to Saint 14, then fly to the Tangled Shore to kill some servitors and fallen captains. You will then need to go and talk to the Spider. He will send you to the empty tank Lost Sector to kill a certain enemy, then have you do a bunch of chores for him in the form of doing 10 spider bounties, 8 public events, and killing 30 challenging enemies, before sending you to the Trapper's Cave Lost Sector in Fourhorn Gulch. A little ways into the cave, at the base of the waterfall here, you will find a grave to investigate. After that, you'll have to run a remastered variant of the Hollowed Lair Strike, where at the Fickrel boss fight, a new mini-boss will spawn. Dispatch him, and the quest will have you go back to Saint 14, where you will finally be rewarded with Bastion. Now, let's break down this weapon's stats. Its intrinsic perk, Saint's Fists, will fire 7 pellets in a burst of 3, for a total of 21 pellets per burst. And while the damage does not crit, its exotic perk, Breakthrough, does allow for a portion of the weapon's damage to bypass elemental shields for direct damage on a target, though testing has shown this to be a pretty useless feature as the damage done is negligible compared to just using a matching element to break shields anyway. Though just because it is lacking in PvE does not mean the gun is totally useless. No, indeed, I've actually found this weapon to be far more effective within the Crucible. Being that it's a fusion rifle with a consistent pellet spread already makes it one of a kind in the sandbox. This fusion shoddy can kill up to 18 meters away, can shut down any super at 15, and overpenetrates targets. Bastion technically has the potential to kill 3 Guardians in one burst, but the chances of getting that to happen are extremely low. Now, let me tell you guys, I don't hate this gun by any means, nor do I love it. It's fun! Don't get me wrong, there's something satisfying about using what is essentially a kinetic version of Lord of Wolves to mow down a group of opposing guardians, but it's just so mediocre otherwise. Hopefully the hidden exotic catalyst improves this weapon significantly in the future, because it needs a serious PvE buff for it to be viable in that field. So why has this weapon caused such a ruckus? Well, when the Corridors of Time puzzle released last week, people quickly began to realize that this was going to be a huge undertaking, not unlike Outbreak Perfected or Niobe Labs of the past. Meaning, people had an expectation going into this that it would result in some sort of unique exotic. Not to mention, we already had a date set for the Bastion release on the roadmap, January 28th. Then came the rumors and talk about a hidden exotic in the game's database that was supposedly a solar heavy. People's imaginations began to run wild, myself included. Some speculated the infamous Galahorn exotic rocket launcher from Destiny 1 making a triumphant return to the game, seeing as there's been a lot of talk and references to the Twilight Gap this season. Some were saying it was the Dragon's Breath exotic rocket launcher from Destiny 1. That was lesser to G-Horn in every way. There was even speculation it could be the return of Ray's Lighter, an exotic sword from the Taken King expansion based on the sword on the sarcophagus lid in the final room. However, as we all know now, none of those were the puzzle reward. Instead, we got to the Bastion earlier than anticipated. It was bittersweet, and if you follow me on Twitter, @EmperorHotshot by the way, you could have seen me become very upset over this ordeal. I was pissed! There were people who sacrificed their own health and well-being and went on days straight at the beginning of this whole endeavor, compiling and entering data from the whole community, all for something that we should have known we were getting in the first place. Half of this backlash could have been averted if Bastion wasn't on the roadmap, or if instead, we just had a new exotic quest listed in its place. Instead, we all got a bit burned. Now, to play devil's advocate for a second, yes, the Destiny community should maybe have tempered their expectations just a little bit. And yes, Bungie did go out of their way to say that the solution to the puzzle was a marathon and not a race. Yet at the same time, as alluded to before, a precedent was set by Bungie for complex exotic puzzles and activities like this to lead to some reimagined exotic like Whisper of the Worm and Outbreak Perfected. Another thorn in the side of many players, though, is how Bastion is now enshrined in canon and lore as our Guardian's favorite weapon, that was shattered in the final confrontation with, presumably, the darkness itself. Mighty bold of you, Bungie, to assume that every player would like Bastion right off the bat to put it in lore. Especially since, if it was a bad weapon, it would just collect dust in the vaults again, and if it were good enough, it would almost be nerfed immediately for balance anyway. The whole situation seems like one big kerfluffle. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to see a more in-depth breakdown of Bastion, or any other exotic in the game, be sure to let me know down in the comments section below. If you want more of my content, you can follow the links in the description of my Twitch and social media accounts, and until next time, this is your man Emperor Hotshot, signing off.